Okay, so thank you very much to the organizer for inviting us today. I'm really happy to be here, and I found the previous talk really interesting because it shows how strongly the cognitive bias are hardwired in our neurocognitive system. Our cognitive system fools us all the time, and as a result of that, there is also a strong gender bias in career in neuroscience, and this is what I'm going to talk about today. It is difficult to be aware of our cognitive bias, but it is also difficult to be aware of gender bias in research career. But to increase the awareness of the community, we just basically need to look at the data. And that might not be obvious if at the first look, because if we look, for example, at the gender distribution for first authorship, we see a relatively fair distribution between women and men. But then, if we look a little bit further, such as last authorship, prize awards, seminar talks at seminars, and talk at conferences, we see a clear gender bias here. For example, we can see even that there are a lot of conferences where there isn't a single woman, but this is pretty rare for men. And we know how much all these aspects are important in the development of a successful research career. There are, of course, a lot of other aspects that have been studied in the literature, and one of them is, for example, that women have lower chance to have a grant proposal accepted. Women have also a lower chance of being hired for tenure-track position at the same competence level. And we also know that women are very underrepresented in reviewing and editorial boards and in general in deciding bodies. And these are just a few aspects. If you look at the literature, the list goes on and on. One thing that we might think about is that we need to take into account the base rate. All those scientific studies, they are made by scientists, and they most of the time take into account the base rate in the field. And for example, if we look at gender distribution at conferences, Bias Watch Neuro is a great initiative that collects data about diversity in neuroscience, and they have an estimate base rate. If we look at the situation this year, at what they have reported this year for, or what we have computed here is for OHBM this year, we see that the distribution of gender among speakers is really close to the estimate base rate. So we can be happy. Or the thing is that if we look at smaller conferences, workshops, or educational events in the same field, so with the same estimate base rate, we see that it's not always the case. And one thing which is particularly important for educational events is that this is where we train the next generation of researchers. This is where we shape the mind of the next generation of scientists. So this is really important. Well, we might think, okay, the society has been always working like that, so why should we change? It doesn't work that bad. I mean, it has been working as far, so why do we change? First, to be fair for half of the population, but beyond this ethical or societal reason or argument, there is also an economic or performance agreement. For example, a lot of studies have shown that diverse teams outperform in terms of innovation, problem solving, flexibility, decision making, and creativity. And we know that all these aspects are crucial in research. Furthermore, in research, we would like to aim, we generally aim for representativity. However, we know that we have a strong tendency to study people like us. And this, in the health sector, in the medicine research sector, there have been issues that have been discussed for a long time, which is the fact that the white male model is the norm. So what is our norm? What is our model is the white male model. However, in our field, for example, in a lot of neurological and psychiatric conditions, we know that women have different incidents, symptoms, trajectories, and response to treatment. So this is why there are now great initiatives such as the Woman Brain Project in order to better understand neurocognitive pathologies in women. So this is not about neurosexism and trying to increase the stereotype showing that men and women are different. This is not the direction in which we should go in general when we study the brain, but this is about understanding the disease when we start in the woman brain. So we might think that everything is done then. However, the future of our research, especially in our field, is in AI, and there will be a lot of development in the future in that direction, but the way we train our AI is on the existing data. And as a result of human bias, AI are biased as well. For example, there are studies showing that a machine learning model trained on an extensive corpus of text would associate women with nurse, but men with doctor, men with engineer, and women with housemaker. So bias in, bias out. We have this bias in our past data, and we need to stay aware of that, because this is the future of our research. So to sum up, as far we have seen in a previous talk that we had a lot of implicit cognitive bias, we can see that gender bias in research career in science prevent us from reaching our full potential as a research community, and even as an impact on the quality and the validity of our research and to the development of future AI. So what can we do now? First, as an institution, so for example, as a research center or a university, organize bias training session, implement double-blind reviewing when possible and relevant, consider gender balance when awarding prizes or grants, implement quotas. There are many different types of quotas. One promoted model is the cascading model. So the idea basically is to take into account the base rate. So for example, if we have 30% of women as PhD students and 50% of men, at the next level we should try to keep the same rate. So we should have 30% postdoc position for women and 70% postdoc position for men. And a measure, an action that concerns not only women but parents in general, and promotion of family, is to implement stock the clock policies. However, it is really important to emphasize that what we need at the moment is really to collect and share data to evaluate the implemented action. Because, for example, there was a paper recently in PNAS showing that online bias training sessions have mixed effects. So these measures not always have positive effect. We really need to evaluate whether they have positive or negative effect. And that was the case also for quotas. There are studies showing that for example, the implementation of quotas in academia in France had actually detrimental effect on women's career. So this is really something to keep in mind, that we need to evaluate those actions. The same action works for organizations such as conferences. So there are a lot of suggestions to provide childcare or family-friendly measure. You can find some in this paper from Calizé and a group of women. This was a PNAS paper, I think. Organizations should also consider gender balance when awarding prizes or fellowship, implement double-blind review when relevant, require gender balance nomination for all organizing committees and reviewing pool. This is an important point, and there is an issue here, is that a lot of women have reported that the problem is that there are often only a few women who are visible, and they tend to be asked to sit in all committees, and it can be a burden, and at the end it negatively impacts on their research career. So that's why we suggest to search for candidates on lists and repositories rather than always asking the same woman. And one example of these repositories is our initiative, the Repository for Women in Neuroscience, in which we have more than 1,000 profiles of women. So conference organizer can search there, but everybody can support the project. And this is where I come to what we could do as individuals. So first of all, be aware of our own and other bias. Second, attend bias training sessions if they are provided by your organization or institution. Speak out when observing gender bias at events and or inappropriate conduct. Share the reels. If you are offered to be part of a symposium but you cannot, you have to decline, please suggest men and women equally. Sign up on repositories and encourage women colleagues to do so. And this is really important, submit recommendation for women scientists. For example, our repository has a recommendation system. So basically, if you hear the talk of a woman and you want to share your positive feedback, or you know a woman very well because you have worked with her directly, you can share your positive feedback in the form of recommendation. This only takes a few minutes. You just click on recommend and then you write a few lines. You do not need to be a PI to write recommendation. Anybody can be recommendation, and they are welcome really from anybody. This is really important to have recommendation even from master, PhD students. And this is really crucial because we can understand that conference organizers do not want to just pick up a name in the list. They want to have a decision as researcher which is based on evidence, and what is evidence here is a recommendation. So one last thing that I would like to emphasize before finishing is that, yes, the data show that there is a bias, unfortunately, but on a more positive note, the data also show that progress is visible when we take action. And this is what we can see in those plots. We can see that gender bias is slowly but progressively decreasing. So to conclude, does each proposed solution work? No. Keep in mind that this is a work in progress and that there is no one solution. So it's like in research, we need a combination of different approach, of different measure, and fit it to the specific audience, to the specific community. It is really important to collect data to evaluate the effect of the different action and do not blindly applying a specific action. This is really important to look at what are the effects. Finally, I would like to remind you that really individual counts. So be aware of your own bias and promote diversity in your institution and field of research. There are a lot of resources online for information, such as BioWatch Neuro that I just mentioned. There are also information about challenge facing women and minorities in science by the Women in STEAM. There are also action resources, some databases for diversity in neuroscience, including our repository. There is also initiative for gender diversity in policy debates, at least in Europe, in Brussels, but I guess other parts of the world should have similar initiatives, I hope. And finally, all this discussion, all this data analysis and website and repository tool have been built, have been performed thanks to the work of all these volunteers, so the Committee for the Repository for Women in Neuroscience. I should thank them very much, and if you want to meet, some of us would be at the student party tonight. Thank you very much for your attention.